Hi everyone, you're welcome back to my channel. So if you're new here, obviously this is my second video and I'd like to introduce myself again. My name is Peace Zakni Jayadi and you're welcome back to another video. So in this video, I am going to be talking about my pregnancy and childbirth journey. Well, not really my pregnancy journey. I'll basically be talking about my experience during childbirth. And I just want to say, before I start this video, I just want to say that the purpose of this video is not to spill my tea. There are reasons why I'm making this video, and by the end of this video, I will state them one by each. So I just need you to listen, and if you're somebody that do not really understand life on a deeper level, if you do not really understand like the fact that life is spiritual, you might not really understand some parts of this video, but however, you might stick around because you might learn something. So firstly, I'm a mother of two. I already mentioned that in my first video while I was introducing myself. I have two kids. The first is 5 and the second is 1 year old. The second is 1 year old. I had my second child on the 14th of August in 2024. And to be honest, it was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life. I mean, I've been through a lot of things, but this particular experience actually did a thing on me. It's actually affected me physically. It's actually affected me in a positive and also in a negative way. But I mean, without further ado, I'll jump right into the gist. So let's start with when I found out that I was pregnant for my second boy. Genuinely, like, my husband and I always wanted to like have a second child, like not in the country. Initially, we wanted to have our first child outside the country, but it didn't work because my first child is a pandemic baby. So we told ourselves that if we were going to have our second child, we're going to make sure we do it in such a way that we're able to give birth to him in either Canada or America. So as God will have it, God always perfects things, you know. We plan and God perfects everything. And God actually perfected everything just as we planned and prayed for. I found out that I was pregnant, and 2 weeks later, my Canadian visa was out. And it was really a happy moment for me because I genuinely never thought that things were going to go like that. So, few weeks later, after I found out that I was pregnant, I went to the doctor. We had like consultation, we did checkup, and just to know like how far I was gone. And I found out that I was already 2 months plus gone. And my husband and I, we started preparing and planning on how to travel out of the country, obviously to Canada, to have the baby. We actually decided to leave very early because we were already tired of Nigeria. So we wanted to, just leave. Then we arrived Canada, and that was where the whole journey started. You know, as a pregnant woman, this particular pregnancy actually dragged me. Like, it was really heavy, and there were just so much of discomfort. It was really very different from my first. But I mean, in all of this, I just want to say that I'm a very strong woman. Like, I handled it very well because I was still able to like carry out minimal activities around the house and do the normal things that pregnant women do. I still used to cook and stuff. But during this pregnancy, I realized that it was very peaceful. Like very, very, very peaceful. And I think it was no other reason but the fact that I was really prayerful. I was steadfast in prayer. Like I'll wake up in the morning, I'll pray, and I'll pray every night before I go to bed. I would either pray by 12 a.m., just between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m. I made sure that I was always praying. And to be very honest, like, I'm not usually someone that prays like that, but I just had the strength and the grace to pray that much during my second pregnancy. So while we were going about our lives and waiting for my due dates, I think it was like 2 months to my expected date of delivery. My husband and I got a message talking to us about, well, it wasn't my husband and I, to be specific. It was my husband that got the message, and he was asked to tell me to be very prayerful, to be steadfast in prayer, because according to what he said, he got a revelation that there were people that were trying to get to me through the pregnancy. And he was like, well, he believes that I'm already praying. He knows that I'm already praying. And so when my husband told me, he just laughed and he was like, this is what I was told to tell you. And I already told this person that you actually pray a lot. I'm like, well, I'm glad you told the person, because I actually prayed a lot. I was very steadfast in prayer. But just very close to my expected date of delivery, let's say like 2 weeks, all of a sudden I started having this feeling of fear in me. Like I was feeling very scared for no reason. I don't know why. My spirit just kept telling me that something was going to go wrong, and I genuinely didn't know where that feeling was coming from. So there was this night that I slept, and like I said, I would usually wake up in the night to pray. But in this particular day, I woke up and it was like there were a group of people by my window that were, having a kind of meeting there. And as soon as I woke up, they all fled away because there was so much noise. Like there was so much noise going on there. And to be very honest, like I woke my husband, I told him, and he said, oh, I should not worry. It's just these white people that are just gisting. And I'm like, by this time, he was like, I should not worry. I should just go back to sleep. I mean, which I obviously went back to sleep. Now, the days were drawing closer. My expected date was already coming closer than ever. So, we were already preparing on how to, go to the hospital. I had bought like my hospital things. The thing is, where I was going to have my baby was like a different city from where I lived. So we were going to have our baby in Brampton, but we lived in Brantford. So we knew that we would have to go and, lodge a place to live for the few days that we'll be in the hospital, before we come back to our city. To be honest, like I was so excited that I would finally have this baby. I even cooked, like I prepared series of meals so that when we go there, we'll have food in the fridge so that we won't be hungry. I mean, my husband and my baby, my first boy, will not be hungry because I knew I would be in the hospital, obviously. And then a day before my expected date of delivery, we traveled to Brampton. And then we found a place, we lodged in a hotel, and we were there until, the next morning when I was supposed to go for my delivery. And before I continue, I would like to say something. This is going to be like one of my most vulnerable video, and I don't know how to feel about it, but like I said, I have a reason for making this video, and my reason is not to spill my tea. So we went to the hospital, and I was at the reception. There were other women that were there to have their baby, and I was just looking, and I was just, praying to God and telling God that, oh God, I hope this goes well. And finally, I was called in to fill in some documents, sign some documents before I would go to my delivery room. But the thing is, my husband and I, we do not have any relative in Canada. It was just us. It was just me, my husband, and my first son. So my husband could not leave my first son behind and stay with me in the delivery room. So I told my husband not to worry, I'll be fine in the delivery room. So now we went into the delivery room. And as soon as the doctor was trying to like put the epidural on me, and the whole scenario, like I was already just feeling so scared. And genuinely, like I've had a child before. I didn't have this feeling when I was going to have my first child. Because even when I was going to have my first child, there were complications as well. But I didn't have this fear. You see, this particular situation was just very different. All of a sudden, I started feeling very scared. And the doctor that was the doctor that was going to minister the epidural on me, he asked me, he was like, don't you have any relative, don't you have any family, where's your husband? I told him, no, we don't have any relative, and my husband is with my first son, because my first son is he's just 4 years old, and he can't be left alone. So I mean, they gave me the epidural, and when it activated, it proceeded with the surgery. They took out my baby. My baby came, very beautiful boy, hale and hearty. They brought him to me. I made videos, I took pictures, and they took him away. And they took me back. After everything, they took me to my room. I wasn't the only one in that room. There was also another lady in the room. But I was just in my own corner. And few minutes later, my husband came with my first son and my baby. I was so happy to see them. I couldn't believe that I now had 2 kids. Like, when they came in, that was the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, wow, I have 2 kids now. I came to this place with just 1 child, and I'll go back with 2. It was really an exciting moment for me. I couldn't wait to hold the boy. I collected him, held him, and I gave him, like, I breastfed him. So within that period, the nurses came, like a nurse came, and she asked me what I wanted to eat. She gave me their menu, and I had chosen what I wanted to eat. And then she left. Then a few minutes later, she came back with my order. And I was holding my baby, I was breastfeeding him, and my husband was feeding me. I don't know, all of a sudden I just felt so weak, like very weak. And I told my husband, I feel so weak. And to be very honest, that was the last thing I remember. The next time I opened my eye, I saw myself on a bed. I just saw like people surrounding me and pushing me. And you know what? When I turned and I saw my husband, the first thing I said to him was, babe, please, I don't want to die. And that was the last thing I remembered. You see, like I said, that was the last thing I remembered. The next thing I remember was I woke up in a hospital room, and I had tubes in my throat. And I woke up at 8 a.m. because there was like a clock in front of me. So I saw a lady, and she came to me. She said, hi, you're currently in the ICU, and you've been here for a few days. And I was like, I couldn't talk, obviously, because I had tubes in my throat, and that tube is so uncomfortable. Like, in fact, well, she told me I was in the ICU, and I was like, okay. I mean, I didn't reply okay because I couldn't talk, obviously, but I nodded my head, and she said the doctors are supposed to come and take off the tube from my throat, but they are currently like attending to other patients, and they'll come to me by like 9 a.m. And I was like, okay, no problem. I was in that room. My eyes were on the clock. I was waiting for 9 a.m. because those tubes, genuinely, right? I don't pray for my enemy to have those tubes in their throat or any part of their body, because that's one of like the most uncomfortable thing that can ever be on you. I don't know if it's that I can't breathe, or I don't even know what's going on with me. I couldn't breathe well. I couldn't swallow my saliva. I was just feeling breeze coming through my throat. I was just not okay, you know. At some point, I'll feel like I want to throw up. I I called the doctor to tell the doctor that I wanted to throw up, and she said I should just be patient, that that's how the tube feels. Next thing, she left, like she went out of the room. And you know, like in a hospital, as a patient, like when the nurse or the doctor that is watching you, or basically when the nurse that is watching you walks out of the room, they're usually supposed to like give you a bell that you can ring in case like you need anything. But you know, this lady, I don't know if she forgot. She just went out and she left me there. And I was just struggling. I just knew that I was struggling. I don't know how to explain what was going on with me, but I couldn't really breathe. I couldn't really swallow. I don't know. I can't even explain how I was feeling, to be honest. I kept trying to call her. She was not there. And you know, before I knew it, I had thrown up on my body. And I tried calling her. I tried. I was, you know, hitting my bed, hitting everything close to me. Maybe she would hear and come. Because obviously I can't talk. No one came. I had thrown up in my body again for the second time. And then she just came back and she just walked in and she just looked at me and she just did like this. And she came and cleaned me up. Now, let me tell you something. That situation that I was in, I genuinely thought I was going to die. Because while I was struggling with those tubes in my throat, at some point I stopped struggling. Since the doctor said they were going to come by 9 a.m., it was over 5 hours. I didn't see anyone. I started praying to God. I told God that He should forgive me for all my sins. He should please forgive me, but He should just spare my life. Like, He should just let me come out of this alive. And as God will have it, finally, the doctors came and they took out the tubes from my throat. And finally, I felt a little bit of comfort. Even though like my throat still felt kind of like really dry, so I was having cough, but I felt much more comfortable. So you know, later that evening, they came and they told me they were taking me to another ward. I was not like, okay. They pushed me down to another ward. Now you see that ward that they took me to. It wasn't like a personal room that I had. It was like a big room, but I mean the curtains were like separating each bed. Now in that room, there were different people there, old and young, with different kind of ailments. And you know me, I was just on my own bed. Like, I just know that there was this woman that was beside me that obviously had tubes. I didn't see that woman, but I knew she had tubes in her throat because of the way she was breathing, the way she was, you know, the sounds she was making. I knew that she had tubes in her throat as well. The kind of pain that I could hear from the sound that this woman was making, it was traumatizing enough for me that I'm also going through my own. Like, it was just a different thing. And you know, me, I was just on the bed. What I know is that my whole body was swollen. My stomach was so big. It was like I didn't just give birth. My stomach was still so big. And then I was asking the nurse, I was like, why is my stomach still this big? Like, and it's so strong. Like, what is going on? She said, well, Um, because the doctors were trying to revive me, they had to keep like passing fluids through my body to keep me alive. So I was like, okay, that's why my stomach is big like this. My hand is swollen, my leg is swollen. She said yes. Now this nurse in that place, God forgive me. I can't say what I don't know, but it was almost as if that lady was sent to kill me. Hey God, see this woman, I be this lady. She was injecting painkillers into me. Like, whenever I feel pain, obviously, like I had a C-section. So she would come here, she would inject the painkiller, and then she would now go back and sit. But at some point, I noticed that if she should inject that painkiller into me, after like 20-30 minutes, it will wear off. And I'll be back to feeling pain. She will now come again. I'll now tell her that, please, I'm feeling so much pain. Please, I need painkillers. She will come. She will put the thing and she will go back. At some point, she was acting very corny. You know, she would just hold the thing behind her like this. She would come and she would just choke the thing like this and she would run back. Like, she didn't even want me to see what she was doing. And then I noticed that the dose of the painkillers that she was giving me were different. Like, she can, like, from the syringe, I can see like sometimes it's full and sometimes it's small. She didn't even have a particular dose that she was giving me. When I noticed it, I initially wanted to like confront her, but I just told myself she's a nurse. She probably knows what she's doing. And then, you know, after some time, I asked her, I was like, please, I'm feeling pain. I need painkillers, please. I need painkillers. She came to me and she said, you can't be taking too much of this because it's going to make you sick. And I told her that whenever you insert this thing inside my body, it doesn't even last. After like 30 minutes, it's gone. Like, how, like, why is it even like that in the first place? She said she does not know that these are the painkillers that they gave her to give me. I was like, okay. Man, a night in that place was hell because other patients did not sleep. They were the ones that were crying and wailing, screaming, you know. Everyone was just going through their own thing and they were just expressing it in different ways. Me, I was just there, you know. At some point, I threw up again. And when I threw up, I noticed something inside. And I was trying to ask the nurse, I'm like, what is this thing that came out from my body? I wanted to touch it and she stopped me from touching it. And she's like, I should not touch it. This is probably one of the things that got into my body while they were trying to pass fluid through my body. And that thing just looked like rubber or I don't even know, or nylon. I don't even know what it was, but it just looked really weird. And I was just kind of shocked that this thing came out from my body. Genuinely, like, I thought I was already gone. Like, I thought that my life was already over. At that point, I started calling people. I started calling my loved ones. Like, I was putting a call across to like few people. Because in my mind, I'm like, if I should die, at least I've spoken to the people that I love. Like, I spoke to them and I would hold the memory until I get to heaven and remember them. Do you understand? So, I mean, later on, my husband came because my husband could not really like stay with me in the hospital because my baby was hale and hearty and they couldn't keep him in the hospital. So they had to give him to my husband. Now, my husband had to find somebody that would help him in taking care of the baby. Since I was not with the baby, he had to look for someone. And God helped us. We found somebody. We found a woman that, you know, was willing to help take care of the baby. And she was taking care of the boy. So, but then, my first boy is also there. My husband has to, you know, make sure that they are fine before he can come back and see me in the hospital. So when he later came, I don't know, but I think he found out that there was another room that they could take me. That is usually where like the maternity ward, basically that's what they call the ward, maternity ward, where like women who just put to bed are always in. So they said they didn't take me there at the first time because it was full. But now, like, there's space and I can go there. So they asked my husband to make payments, and my husband did. And they took me to the ward. The nurse that took me to that ward, when she saw me, I don't know, but the first thing she said to me was, the painkillers they were giving you in that ward was making you sick. So she first of all gave me something. It's kind of like liquid. She asked me to pour it inside water and I should drink it so that it will help me, like, flush out all the bad stuff that was in my stomach. She was really so nice to me. She was such a nice woman. She's of age, basically. And I was just in that ward. It was much better than the other one, to be honest. And I felt a little bit of peace, but I was still in so much pain, like so much pain. My whole body was still swollen. And my husband had to leave, and then he came back to see me the next day with my baby and with Jamal. Jamal, that's my first son. And at that point, he sat down and he was telling me everything that happened. Because guys, I told you guys that after I passed out, and I woke up and I saw my husband and told him I don't want to die. That was the last thing I remembered until I woke up and found myself in the ICU. The truth is that I realized something. That whole situation actually traumatized my husband and I in different ways. And it was in that moment that he was telling me what he also went through. So, this man told me that while I was in the theater, because the doctors took me back to the theater, apparently I had an internal bleeding. It's like the doctor that did my surgery didn't stitch me up properly. So I had an internal bleeding. And, they had to take me back into the theater to stitch me up again properly. So he told me that when I was in the theater, he was, roaming around confused and in so much worry. And they were just sending him errands. Like, they were sending him on different errands. Go there, do this, do that. And he was, running around and going. And he was praying and asking God to not take my life, like to not let me go, like to not let me die. And he said at some point the nurses will come, and when he asked them what's up, they will just tell him that he should just keep praying because all my organs are not working. Tell me what the doctors meant by all my organs are not working. Genuinely, I feel like I died though. Like I died legit, and I was resurrected, because what do the doctors mean by my organs were not working? Anyway, after the whole thing, he said he was putting calls through to like my mom, my dad, everyone that he knew to pray for me. And he was just telling me that he didn't know what to do, that he was really confused at that point. And he just knew that prayer was the only thing. And just like the nurses said, prayer was the only solution. Prayer was the only thing. And as God will have it, they came back and they told him that, I've been revived and I'm doing fine. And, I think that my husband, I don't know how my husband handled the whole situation, but I know that he did his best. I know that he tried his best. Even like just the whole situation of him having to be with the baby, be with my first son. I genuinely don't know how he did all of that, but I know that he really tried. Like, I really respect him for that. After he told me everything that had happened when I was in the theater room, when I was in the theater room, I just asked him a question. I asked him, I was like, what if I actually died? He said, I cannot die. I said, I just asked you, what if I actually died? He said, but you cannot die. I was like, okay, fine. We thank God for everything. Now, while I was in that ward, like the maternity ward, I experienced a few things with like some nurses, and I want to particularly say this story about like a scenario that happened with me and one of the nurses. So, this lady came on duty at night, and she was the one that was supposed to take over, taking care of me at night. And when she came, she gave me my drugs at first, and then she came back to give me the second drugs, and it wasn't time. And I asked her, I was like, this is not the time I usually take my medicine. She said, yeah, that boy, it's almost time. And that's why she's bringing it. I said, okay, no problem, you can just drop it. And she dropped it and she left. At some point, I wanted to use the restroom. And as someone that has just had a surgery, I obviously cannot walk properly. I called on this lady to, assist me, which is obviously supposed to be part of her duty, right? And she came, she assisted me, helped me with my stuff into the bedroom. And this lady just came back and she stood by the door and she was like, please, when you are done, can you help me just go back to your bed? And I looked at her, I'm like, really? If I could do these things by myself at first, I wouldn't even call you. But I think that sometimes certain things happen to us to make us realize our strengths. In that moment, I didn't say anything to her. I actually got up by myself and went to my bed. I mean, it was that day that I realized that I could actually walk by myself to my bed and out of my bed. And I'm saying this because a lot of things that I experienced that I cannot even like talk about in details with some of the nurses in that hospital is actually very, very alarming. I think that the nurses are one of the people that actually contribute to the health of patients in hospital, because the ill treatment, sometimes some of them actually act like they are very bitter. A lot of things actually happened between me and that lady, but I can't really like talk about it in details. And I just want to point to the fact that nurses need to do better. You know that I'm a woman that I've just had a baby. I'm obviously very vulnerable. I had a surgery and I don't have strength. And you're not even willing to assist me. I called you, which is obviously your duty, and you're still telling me to actually walk myself back into my bed. Something that I asked you to come and help me with. Anyways, if you go to a hospital and you do not get a kind treatment from the nurses, I think you should run away, because those people can actually worsen your situation. Whatever situation you find yourself, they can actually worsen it. So guys, I said I was going to tell you guys the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is, number one, I want to point out to the fact that a lot of things actually happen during delivery, during childbirth and delivery. And I just want to call the attention of other women to be very, very prayerful. Because when you're pregnant and you're going to have a child, you do not really know what is in front of you. Sometimes that situation can actually be very, very much manipulated by the devil. And I think a lot of women do not know this. Some women actually go into the delivery room and not come out alive. And they think it's just a normal thing. I feel like sometimes it's normal, sometimes it's not normal. I genuinely want to urge women to take their prayer life seriously during pregnancy, so that God will protect them from anything that may be coming to harm them. That's number one. Number two, I also want to talk to men and women, especially men. See, anyone that knows me knows how much I like man. Like, I love my husband. Like, I'm a one-man army. Okay? I'm not a feminist, and I'm not part of those women that throw shade at men and try to like compare men and women. But one thing that I can say for a fact is, this whole situation has actually taught me to love myself and to know my worth as a woman. I genuinely think that in this society, in this part of the world, like Africa, the society encourages men to be very toxic in such a way that a lot of men believe that as soon as they provide money for their family, they think that they've done it all. They are not ready to actually be present emotionally for their family, especially their wives, especially during pregnancy and childbirth. And I think that that's one thing that is very, very important. We all have our significant roles to play in our lives. Whether you're a man or you're a woman, you're not more important than the other. As a man, you're not more important than your wife, and as a woman, you're not more important than your husband. We all play a role in each other's lives. If you, as a man, you feel like you provide for your family, just remember that at some point, your wife is going to risk her life to give birth to your offspring. And that is not something that is very, very easy. If you want to say she's not the only woman that can give birth for you, you're also not the only man that can provide for her. Look, I'm not here to attack anybody. I come in peace. But I feel like we need to learn to appreciate each other. Honestly, a woman puts her life on the line to give birth for you. You also sacrifice a lot for your woman and for your family. All of us play a significant role in each other's life, and we should appreciate each other. There's no need for anyone to be toxic. There's no need for you to exhibit any toxic masculinity. There's no need. Please, do not let the world make you feel comfortable being toxic. It is not it is not something that pays. Because imagine if my husband was not with me. Imagine if my husband decided that, okay, oh, she can just go and give birth on her own, and he was not present. He was not with me during this whole thing. I feel like I would have died, because the love that my husband showed me, the care that my husband gave me, was actually what gave me strength. I feel like it was even actually what healed me. It was even probably what brought me back to life. Yeah, God performed his own. But the fact that I had somebody that was praying, that was calling for help, and was trying to make sure that I was fine, it was also one of the things that helped me survive the whole situation. So I'm making this video to also let people know that there's nothing wrong with being there for each other. Your wife is pregnant. Please try and be there for her. She just gave birth. Please try and be there for her. Be kind to her, because that is the most vulnerable time of her life. And it's worth it, because you also have a mother. It is very much worth it. And lastly, I just want to say this here. If you're going to give birth in Canada and you're going to go to Brampton Hospital, see, if you want to chat me up directly, you can do that. I will personally give you the name of the doctor that received my baby. And the reason why I say so is because after I had my child, when I went back to the hospital for checkup, there was a woman that was sitting beside me. She said something to me. She said she had already started giving birth, like the baby was already coming out of her before the doctor was present in the theater room. So I genuinely feel like this man is kind of like careless, and I'm not going to let anyone I know have their child with this man. If you want to know the name of this doctor, you want me to give you information about him and what hospital, you have my Instagram handle that I'm going to drop. Please send me a DM. I'll send it to you, because I don't want you to fall victim of my case. I had internal bleeding, obviously, because the doctor didn't stitch me up properly. And there was no explanation for that. He just kept telling me, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. So I just felt that I should make this video to give my testimony, because that situation would have actually led to my death. Because imagine if after that surgery we drove back to our city before the whole thing manifested. Remember, I told you guys that we lived in a different city from where I went to have my child. If I had already gone back home and this whole thing manifested, if the internal bleeding did not manifest when I was in the hospital, I'm not sure the doctors would have been able to save me. I would have actually been dead and gone. But I believe that God kept me for a reason, and I'm very grateful to him. And I just want to say thank you to God, and thank you to my husband for sticking by me even at the point of death. I'm so grateful for him, and I appreciate him so much. I also want to say thank you to my parents for being steadfast in prayer, and every other person that was praying for me and with me in that period. I'm so happy to be making this video, because I mean, look at me now. You wouldn't believe that I went through all of this. You wouldn't believe that I experienced such traumatizing situation. But I'm grateful, and I'm very thankful to God that I survived it. um I would say this is the end of my video. I finally come to the end of this video. Guys, please, if you learned one or two things, or you feel blessed by my story, please don't forget to subscribe, like, drop comments. Make sure you subscribe. Oh, very important. Your subscription is very important to me, just so that you can get notified each time I post new videos. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.